Sometimes I forget. Oh, look at this. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. I have my iPad.
Okay, he heard you.
He heard me. That's nice. Hi, Karine. How are you today?
I'm good, Catherine. As I was saying to you earlier, I'm a little tired today. So I have a little bit of a lack of energy. I used all my energy. Let's put it that way. So nearing the end, and I hate to say it, but the Leafs are playing tonight. So I will be watching that and crossing my fingers and my toes and everything else. So I'll make it through that. And then I'm going to bed early tonight. And how are you?
I will, you know what? I am definitely gonna want to know what's going on with the Leafs. I'm following that, but I have mixed feelings on it for sure. Sometimes you sit, I was watching, I was thinking of you actually the other day when they did, was it last night that they did the NHL draft? And I was thinking about that fellow, I think it's Bedard is his last name. Connor Bedard. And I really was thinking, I know hockey, and I was thinking it's like life. We go through life and there's some things we control and some things we don't. And I was thinking of his family and him and how fortunate we are, or I am for sure. And I think you'd agree. My dream is not relying on anybody but me.
Right.
Whereas I'm not going to be impacted. Different from a person like that has an Olympian or an athlete, a pro athlete, because they rely on so many other parts to live their dream. So anybody that, there's a lot of moving pieces. Like I thought of him and his family and how they felt. They're going to uproot. Imagine his dream. He's so clear of what he wants that he'd be willing to say, I'm in BC. I'll go to Chicago if that's what it is. And they are committed to their dream to a point that it takes them, they have blind faith that they're going to end up in a place that's going to serve them well. And you think of the family and everybody impacted. And part of me as a mother had a bit of a tear because I know that you have one of your boys in hockey. And when you're at that level of hockey, it really is crazy. So whatever your dream is to say, go for it. No matter what, just go. And if you're a mom and Mom's Day's coming, support it. Like go for
Definitely.
it and smile on where they're going. Hi, Robert. I see that you're here. Thank you for being here tonight. And so Robert's here. There's a couple of people here. So Robert says hello. So
well, we have something specific we want to chat about that is relevant for our book of the month.
Yes. We're going to be talking about the 4 agreements. We did a little bit last week. And tonight we picked one of the 4 agreements is don't make assumptions.
Yeah. I like the saying of the assumption or assume makes an ASS out of you and me. I always remember that as a way to remember the word, but it is, the way you remember that basically it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to make assumptions. And you've read more than I haven't read the book, so you can talk a little bit more about where they position themselves. Why does he consider it one of the 4? Why is it such an important one?
Well, you know what? For those that don't have the book and in the cover, I'll explain from his perspective. He says, find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want, which is very interesting. And communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings. So an assumption is sometimes caused by a misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And really, that is so like, boom, is what I would say.
Why do you think he writes that? Why is this so important? I mean, I'm not belittling it. I mean, it just, as far as being one of the top 4 things, Why do you think this one is so important? Because people often make assumptions. It's kind of almost like sometimes it can be second nature. People can go through life making assumptions about all kinds of things.
How many times in life have you heard this? And don't jump to conclusions. How often do we hear that?
Yeah, often.
Would one jump to conclusions if they didn't make assumptions? And it's like we overanalyze everything as human beings.
I do. But everybody
I
else.
do too. Yeah, Roxanne, it is a hard one. I'm so glad you Roxanne just commented it's a hard one.
Mhm.
And yeah, it is a hard one, period.
It is.
Why is it hard? Because you want to believe what you're thinking. You want to believe what you're saying. You want to, and you're sensitive.
Well, when we started this conversation earlier today, you were thinking about when you make assumptions about other people, right? And I was
Yes.
saying, when I think about not making assumptions, I actually think of myself, meaning like, I don't want to make assumptions about myself based on experiences, based on limitations. Like, don't assume you can't do something just because of X, Y, or Z. But so
that's
we
the
came at
impact
it.
of the author. You're right on. Like, that's
Yeah.
exactly what the author would, if he was conversing with you, would say, yes,
Yeah.
you're right, Karine. That's exactly what I mean. And
Yeah, but
boom, like that's what it is.
right.
What does that mean when you say, like, you can really speak to that, like assumptions of you had a lot today when we were talking. It was very interesting what you had to
Well,
say.
I was just saying that, when you make assumptions about yourself, it's limiting, right? So it's almost like you're making excuses. Well, I can't do that because I'm assuming this is going to happen, or I assume that that other person won't like it, or I assume that, if to me, it immediately puts you in a negative position.
Well, often
Like mentally, like
assumptions,
the
yeah.
energy, like all of it, like any type of assumption. So it's almost like, it's like you said, well, it's like having that limiting belief, I guess, right?
It
But
definitely comes from that.
But when you were talking about it, you were talking about more about don't assume things about people around you, or people you work with, or
What I've applied to my life from it is what I would say. And it served me very well, life-changing, is that it goes along with, sometimes we'll say, I mind my business.
Mhm.
What does that mean? I'm not in your bit. Just because you're doing something, it may have nothing to do with me. I don't assume it has anything to do with me, which is a hard thing to do. Hi, Anne-Marie. And I look forward to you joining us next week and being in the room with us.
Thank
And we'll
you.
talk about that in a minute. But we tend to, something happens, and it goes hand in hand with this other one, which we'll talk about next week. Don't take things personally, because we assume something based on something. Okay, long word, a lot of words. What is it based on? It's based on our experience, our belief, and often at the core of it, you got that exactly right. It's something within us. It's something
Mhm.
within us that allows us to connect that to something outside of us
Right.
that may not be happening, because within us, is it a limiting belief? Is it something that's not accurate? Is it an old story we've told ourselves that we're living by that is no longer relevant?
Mhm.
It's like the child that couldn't ride the bike and, had training wheels on the bike, that feels, no, I can't ride a bike. I can't ride a bike. I can only ride with training wheels. Now, all of a sudden you have a new bike and the bike has no training wheels. And the person says, I can't ride that bike. There's no training wheels on it. When really, well, guess what? Your old bike, the training wheels never touched the ground.
Right.
That the parents lifted them off the ground. What? Yeah, you haven't had training wheels for years. So the point is, the child assumed that the only reason they could ride the bike was because the training wheels were on the bike.
Right.
And it's like us, we assume what we can or can't do based on our experiences. So when you talk about, and that's from ourselves, and then we assume, I assumed that everybody was like me.
Right.
That if
That's an easy one. Yeah, I think people can really relate to that.
like If I
I
know
do
it,
that.
what do you mean?
I assume that people think the same way that I do if I'm talking, and I even when it comes to politics, I assume people see what I see, and that apparently they don't.
You know, Roxanne says assumptions are sometimes like first impressions. I love that.
Yeah.
Which aren't always right.
That's right.
You assume you know me, like each person in here. And that's what I said about real estate. Like I took a real estate course in residential. We were talking about that today.
Mhm.
And somebody would, do you know how many people said to me, you took a what? I said, a course in real estate. What are you talking about? You've been doing that for 35 years. So you assume I know what I'm doing in real estate.
Mhm.
And I do. If you give me a lease,
Yeah.
I
In certain
know
areas, right? You're
in
an
certain
expert.
areas you hire, and which is what we were talking about with assumptions. I think in our community, if we could say, how many times do you assume that somebody knows something and they're an expert when they're not?
Mhm.
The accountant you hire, the lawyer you hire, the, you know, wherever you trust that somebody has something that you may not be strong with. Again, you're assuming from your perspective. And, somebody says, oh, I have a more, that was one of the things I learned in the course about mortgage brokers. You need a residential one and a commercial one if
Mhm.
you're doing investments in residential real estate. And what do you mean? A mortgage broker is a mortgage broker. No, it's not even good enough to say you need to look at something with zero assumption.
Mhm.
Zero assumption that have faith in yourself. Don't make assumptions though. And they're really, you say, well, your faith sometimes allows you to make an assumption. Your faith, like I believe that you are this, so you know more than me.
Mhm.
No. Believe in you, know you, don't assume anything, not about you and not about anybody else. Don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's
Roxanne
not
wrote it.
easy. Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's
And
not.
you know what? That's why we're going to do, I'm very much looking forward to Book of the Month, where we
just
do
set the
book
date.
talk.
Yeah. We just set the date. We'll get that email out on Friday to tell everybody to
Yeah.
save the
So
date.
watch out. You're going to get the date to save.
Yeah.
Book talk is happening this month, and you won't want to miss it because the 4 agreements, like, be impeccable with your word. And we were just talking about that. We'll talk about that next week or the week
Yeah.
after. Don't
Yeah.
take anything personally.
Right. That one is so hard. So hard. It's funny though, just again, having teenagers, it's amazing how life experience and, finding your confidence and all of those things, like as you get older, it is a little bit easier, I think, to not take things as personally. We can talk about this next week, but that's my
Next week,
take.
but this week,
Yeah.
don't make assumptions is
Yeah.
really about, the problem is, I would say as we get older,
Yeah.
we
do.
absolutely make assumptions because we believe we've got all this expertise and experience.
You know what I'm going to do because of this conversation? I'm just going to spend tomorrow just aware throughout my day. I'm going to see if I can catch myself making any assumptions, because I think we do it subconsciously, to be honest with you. We must, right?
Oh, all the time. And when you catch yourself, and you start to realize just how many times you do it, you're going to be surprised. I've done the exercise.
That's what I'm thinking.
And what I'm going to share is, Karine, I wish you courage tomorrow. I wish you courage to go through your day, and that may you have a courageous day. And it's interesting because you will be in a place that you will, it's a perfect day for you to check that out, the assumptions thing.
I think so too. And for those that are watching, we're laying my mother's ashes to rest tomorrow. So, it's a brand new experience, and I'm embracing it, and it's part of life. But when it comes to just this conversation, it will be really interesting to see, because it's new, because I don't know anything, because I'm going to be around people, while it's close family and friends only, like very close family and friends, there's a handful of us, there's there's people from a funeral home, there's people from a church, there's going to be people around me that I don't know. And I'm curious, I'm already thinking I probably will make assumptions that they know what they're doing, or they,
And
you know,
they'll make assumptions.
I'm sure
They'll
I
make
will.
assumptions.
Yeah.
I
I'm
remember
sure I will.
having David on the complete opposite, birth and death. They are hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember having David, and I remember going to work. And I don't think I'll ever forget the look on everybody's face. I told David just recently, because the person I worked with, I saw on Monday. And it's very interesting that his first day of work, he was but 3 years old. And that was his first day, because we went to work and everybody said, how can you have a baby? You really wanted a baby. I never took mat leave. I took a 2-week vacation. I never felt the need to, because you know why? I've always known what I want at every stage, and I've done it. So I was doing exactly what I wanted to do
That's
at
great.
work, meeting my clients. So
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to take some time to figure out what you want. And that's what Sage Navigation is about. And next week, Anne-Marie will be joining us, one of our Docksiders. We hope once a month to have you come and join us in our conversation.
Yeah, if you guys want to join us on Dockside Live on Wednesday nights, let us know. We love having people. We love letting people in our community get to know others. It's such a fun way to do it. And it's 15 minutes, you know, and I'm looking at the clock. It's 15 minutes. It's enjoyable. I usually have a cup of tea while I'm doing it. Today I'm a little behind my schedule, but anyways.
And
yeah.
I offered to do a meditation, and I will be doing that next week.
Great.
So I look forward to that.
Awesome.
Thank you, Karine.
Okay.
Have
thanks,
a,
Katherine.
what is it? Same time, same place, superhero. We're not bat channels. We're going to be Docksiders.
You're so cute. You're adorable. Thank you, Katherine. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.